Hello, dear friends. Today we speak about global marketing. This is fourth lesson in global marketing, and this lesson I think will be very relevant for business people, for students, and for anybody who wants to enter the foreign country, who wants to enter foreign market with ideas, with some plans to find some kind of factors of producing, what is land, labor, entrepreneurship, and money, and to unite all these factors of producing for one big target, to set a new business in this kind of market, in this kind of foreign country where these people going to realize their ideas. So everybody who wants to enter different markets, non-domestic markets, they need global marketing, and they need especially the knowledge of global marketing positioning. Please remember this word, global marketing positioning. All times, if you have ability and if you have power to position yourself globally, you have very interesting beginning. So you have really well realized goals and plans and mission, and your startup is really actually very good. So global marketing positioning, all about we should speak to understand well what kind of steps should be undertaken by global businessmen to enter well in the right way to the country. And what is the country? This is some kind of culture. It's great package of different kind of things, and all this package is governed by culture. So that's why today we speak about culture and all kind of aspects what is into culture. So when we speak about culture, you can ask me why we should learn culture. It's like a phenomenon, what is governing us, what we can learn. Everybody should know that culture is learned behavior. So we learned culture. Our ancestors learned culture, and their ancestors built this culture. So when we speak about importance of learning, importance of education at all, importance of education in global marketing, once again, I want to bring very interesting speech of great king of Macedonia, the father of Alexander the Great, whose name was Philip the Macedonian, the king of Macedonia. So this is interesting conversation about culture. This is interesting conversation about the role of education in that kind of kingdom. And when Philip, the king of Macedonia, is meeting with Aristotle. And who was Aristotle? Aristotle was not only great philosopher of his time, he was Google of his time. And when King Philip is meeting Aristotle, the Google of old ancient earth, he is saying, health. A son is born to me. I thank the gods, not so much for making me a father, as for giving me a son in an age when he can have Aristotle as a teacher. I have confidence that you will make him a prince worthy to succeed me and qualified to govern Macedonia. So this was great words said by great king of Macedonia, Philip, to to Google of the time when civilization had biggest startup. So, and the name of this Google was great philosopher Aristotle. So that means that we should study everything. We should study all kind of things. We should start to study all kind of aspects when we engage, especially different markets, different cultures. So, and we should know what are tasks of global marketers. First of all, global marketers and also local marketers, they study and understand the cultures of countries in which they will be doing business. They understand how an unconscious reference to their own cultural values or self-reference criterion may influence their perception of the market. They try to find the ideas to incorporate this understanding into the business plans, into the business activities. So let's start to speak about culture. What is the culture? You can say that culture, it's a way of living built up by a group of human beings that are transmitted from one generation to another generation. Culture has conscious and unconscious some kind of values, ideas, attitudes, and symbols. Culture is acted out in social institutions. And what are these social institutions? First of all, this can be family, and we have first some kind of learning skills we should adopt in our families, and culture is also in street. So in some countries where educational institutions are too weak and families are also not very strong, street is strongest. But after street, it's also institution. So educational institution, schools, gymnasiums, universities, training halls, training clubs, teachers, some kind of educators, mentors, and work offices, working capacities, managers, so bosses, leaders, and family members, new family members, wives, daughters, and sons, and some kind of new relatives. All of them, they build our attitudes, values, and beliefs. They extend some beliefs and attitudes. So we receive all these things in our relations, and we try to maintain these kind of things and to give them to our descendants. So this is culture, and this is circulation of culture from generation to generation. So first of all, culture is both physical and non-physical. Non-physical culture is religion, attitudes, beliefs, and values. I want to say once again, but physical culture, this is clothing and some kind of ways, how we eat, what we prepare, what is our dietary preferences. All these things, they are part of physical culture. So right now it's very popular to say the words of Ernst Hofstede, who is wonderful professor from Netherlands. So Ernst Hofstede says that culture is the collective programming of the mind that distinguishes the members of one category of people from those of another. So Mr. Hofstede thinks that culture is some kind of great way to program others, and Mr. Hofstede is right. So what is programmer? Who are programmers in that kind of case? So we don't know, but together all of these kind of members of this greatest phenomenon what is culture, nation, ethnic groups, gender groups, organizations, families. So religion institutions, all of them, they do programming and they try to teach us. They try to teach us, and we try to learn something, and we try to avoid some other kind of things, but this comes in our mind. Culture is positioned in our mind uh, in both ways, conscious ways or unconscious ways. In both ways, culture is finding very real place in the human mind. So once again, I want to say something about social institutions. This is family, education, religion, government, business, and also I add some kind of institution, unofficial institution is brotherhoods, some kind of our group of our relatives. In some countries, the people have biggest group of relatives, especially in my country. Unofficial institutions, they play greatest role in education of people, in some kind of informal education of people. So these institutions, they reinforce cultural norms. And what is the task of businessmen? Businessmen, if he or she is coming from United States to my country or to other countries or some other parts of the earth, Asian parts, African parts, European parts of the earth, they come to some kind of countries. For example, in my country, they are outsiders from beginning, and through learning of culture of my country, for example, they should become insiders of my country. And if they became insiders, they have one of the biggest empathy from my nation. For example, my people, Georgians, they like very much outsiders coming into Georgia, and very soon, in some kind of period, maybe 2 or 3 months, they became insiders of my country, and they already start to speak Georgian. And by the way, Georgian language is oldest language of the earth. Different sources, they say that it can have huge history in ancient time, but not everything is remind in some kind of histories. Books were burned, everything was destroyed, and we know that oldest sources and oldest some kind of interesting and great um, things of my culture, Georgian culture, you can find elsewhere, not only in Georgia, in the part of Asia where people lived, and they were using Georgian language, way they spoke Georgian language. So we say that our language is 5,000 years old, and today we speak the same language as we have spoken 2,000 years ago, as we spoken 1,000 years ago. For example, we speak the same language today as great King Tamara the First, one of the biggest king of our civilization, female, and great governor, great leader of society. She was speaking in her time. So we love very much when outsiders coming to my country, they start to speak Georgian, they start to write Georgian, and our script is also wonderful. We have two scripts, and so one script we use in newspapers, writing, and so on in administrative life. So we love people really who start to speak Georgian. and to start to use Georgian language, Georgian aphorisms, Georgian some kind of part of literature in the branding of their organizations. So that means that they understand that we are worthy people to be so friends of their organizations, and if they love us, we love them back. So this is the life, this is the wisdom. So all kind of business persons can understand well that outsiders receiving education and turned into insiders, they have 2 times much appreciation than insiders of the country who were all times like insiders. So outsiders. That means that if some kind of companies, they come to my country and very soon they became part of Georgian literature, part of Georgian spirit, part of Georgian soul, part of Georgian understanding, I appreciate their brands. And their brands became one of the most beloved trademarks. And they can be found in my brain, in my mind. They can have great place in my mind. So this is the marketing wisdom, and this is the wisdom of global marketing. Right now we can say something about material and non-material cultures. Physical culture, once again, clothing, tools, decorations, art, body, homes. Abstract culture is also very interesting. Different nations, they have different abstract cultures. So this is established during some period. This is taken from God and received to people. Religion, first of all, perceptions, attitudes, beliefs, and values. So global consumer cultures are emerging from different nations. Persons who share meaningful sets of consumption-related symbols. So they are part of global culture. For example, pub culture, coffee culture, fast food culture, credit card culture, soccer culture. This is already global culture. One great thing I want to add to these cultures, this is wine culture. And by the way, what is the motherland of the wine? What is the birthplace of the wine? This is Georgia, near Tbilisi, in the small village Shulaveri, 12 kilometers outside my country and my house. This is small village where archaeologists, they found 8,000 years old wine vessel where first wine was done. This is Caucasus, this is Georgia, this is near of my city Tbilisi. So this is birthplace of the wine. It means that our wine is real wine. Georgian wine is Rvino. We say Rvino because old Greeks could not pronounce Rvino. They took out R and they started to say vino, in vino veritas. Vino became wine when Greeks exported Georgian vino to Europe. And so world turned into wine culture, what is really vino culture. So this is very interesting that these global cultures, they have wonderful and meaningful importance in the life of the people. And today this culture has great chance to extend all over the world. So through internet, through satellite TVs, and so on and so on. First of all, let's say about what is the attitude. Attitude, this is learned tendency to respond in a consistent way to a given object or entity, which is belief. Belief is an organized pattern of knowledge that an individual holds to be true about the world. So what is value? Value is enduring belief or feeling that a specific mode of conduct is personally or socially preferable to another mode of conduct. And what is subculture, by the way? World has a lot of subcultures. So smaller groups of people with their own shared attitudes and beliefs and values, they are subcultures. For example, vegans or vegetarians, they are subcultures. They are very interesting people. So religion, wonderful part of the culture. And culture is also a wonderful part of religion. So we know three Abrahamic religions. These religions, they are coming from Abraham, the father of nations and the father of cultures. Three religions, they are Abrahamic religions: Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. But beside Abrahamic three religions, we should know well Hinduism. We should know well so other kind of religious groups and directions and attitudes and beliefs. So all these things should be taken into consideration. And it's very interesting thing how outsider understands well all these kind of things. For example, I am from Orthodox culture. Orthodox Christians, they are oldest Christians. In my country, himself, Saint Andrews, established first church. The Saint Andrews himself visited my country in one very nice place, Atskuri Castle, right now we say. In Atskuri, this great saint built first Christian church in first century. So we are very fond of to multicultural understanding of the people, but we love our religion. We love our Orthodox church. So if outsiders coming to Georgia, they visit our churches, they visit also material culture, what is part of our religious understanding. And so fresks, first of all, and icons, oldest Georgian icons and books. We translated Bible in 8th century, 7th century. So if outsider understands this, she will be insider, and this is great advantage for his and her business. So aesthetics, it's also part of the culture. What is the aesthetics? This is sense of what is beautiful and what is ugly. So people have different understanding about what is beautiful and what is ugly, but mostly they agree to each other that Sandro Botticelli's masterpieces, they are great, and I love Sandro Botticelli's painting. I love all kind of great painters and their great masterpieces. About Raphael, I can say that I was crying when I visited the place, burial place of Raphael in Pantheon of the Rome. So I was thinking that such a young man, 37 years old, died. He had great plans. He was a wonderful person, and I was crying. I had tears in my eyes, and I was weeping. So when I watched the grave of one of the best artists of all times of our civilization. So this is great thing. Art is great thing, and art unites all nations, because all nations and members of all nations, members of all religions, they have the opinion that Raphael is great. Raphael was great. Michelangelo Buonarroti was wonderful artist. And what we have right now from Michelangelo, this is great. This is part of everybody's life. So, and other kind of things. So Coco Chanel is wonderful. Everybody loves and appreciates this kind of brand. So aesthetics. We have national aesthetics and we have international aesthetics. So I think that international aesthetics was established by great Renaissance painters, first of all, because Renaissance painters were so popular that their painting style was exported to different countries. But except of Renaissance painters, we can say that old Sumerian painters and so Persian painters and painters from Mesopotamia and Egypt and Georgia, my country, and Armenia, my neighbor country, so and Greek painters and so monument builders, they influenced all the world in our piece. So we can say that aesthetics was built by generations and bad generations, and so styles, they were built also in different countries, and styles were built in one of the best places of the earth, Paris, for example. All times Paris was a city of the world, some capital of the art, and styles were built in Paris. Many different artists united in Impressionism, and Impressionism became one of the best style in 19th century, in 20th century. So, and after that, this was changed by Surrealists and Salvador Dali, despite the fact that he was Spanish artist, he worked in Paris. So some kind of big cities, they are mothers of styles. They are mothers of aesthetic styles and aesthetic some kind of movements. So all these things we should take into consideration when we think about branding and when we think about strategic brand management. So aesthetics and colors, for example, red color is associated with blood, winemaking, activity, heat, and vibrancy in many, many different situations. So blue, since the pigment of the blue was rare, ancient Egyptians, Chinese, Mayan civilization associated this color with royal family and kings of these kind of civilizations and countries. White, I like very much white color. For me, this is very peaceful. But in some kind of countries of Asia, white, it is color of the death. So this should be taken into consideration by global marketers. And gray means inexpensive in Japan, for example, in China, but high quality and expensive in the United States. So music. We understand that music has huge history, and first music was done in Mesopotamia and some elsewhere. So music is also part of aesthetics, and we should understand what kind of music to use in jingles. So this is also branding. This is also part of strategic brand management. And about dietary preferences, for example, Domino's Pizza pulled out of Italy because its products were seen as too American, with bold tomato sauce and heavy toppings. Domino's Pizza is also in India, but in India's largest foreign fast food chain, this Domino Pizza has some kind of Indian ingredients. So Dunkin's Donut what I love, by the way. This is like morning business in India was little slowed down because I understand that you should eat Dunkin's donuts uh, early morning, but Indians eat breakfast at home. So business should take this into consideration that no Indians will run to Dunkin' Donuts offices early morning because they eat their breakfast at home. So this can be some kind of problem to develop Dunkin' Donuts in the countries where people don't go to eat early morning some kind of things, and they prefer to establish tea and boil eggs and take out the butter from the refrigerator and cut the cheese, and so to do little salad and do this at home and eat at home. So this is home eating culture. But until what o'clock home eating culture has real chance to influence people from 7 o'clock to some kind of 2 hours people so understand that everything is close to their home eating culture. But after 2 o'clock, so afternoon, everybody, even in India, they go to some kind of locals and eat there. So this should be taken into consideration by local marketers because marketing of time is different in different countries and different nations. So languages and communications, there are semiotic languages, semiotics always opening languages at all. And we understand that through semiotics, we should learn languages really well and understand this kind of signs and their meanings. And semiotics includes both spoken and unspoken, some kind of parts of languages. And so a lot of things should be understood well, especially um, hieroglyphs of China, hieroglyphs of Korea, hieroglyphs of some other countries, Japan. Hieroglyphs are very nice. They have special culture of calligraphy. They have great competitions of calligraphy. And that's why I'm saying all times to my students to improve our calligraphy because my students, they write into English. Some of my students, they write into our oldest script, Georgian script. We should also have some kind of competition into calligraphy, how people paint the symbols of my alphabet. This is very important. So also we have very interesting part in communication, in body language. Body language is different, totally different in a lot of countries. In Bulgaria, for example, when someone wants to say no, this person says so. And in my country, we say no by our silent body language to do in this kind of way. So this is interesting pivotal changes and pivotal differences what should be taken into consideration. Universal aspects of the cultural environment represent opportunities to standardize elements of a marketing program, and increasing travel and improved communications through online technologies have contributed to a convergence of tastes and preferences in a number of product categories. And sometimes we should try to understand well this convergence dilemma. And so that's why to go to restaurant we can have this kind of great pleasure to taste different food and different combinations of the some kind of local food dietary preferences. So right now, what is very bad? McDonaldization. McDonaldization is not good. McDonaldization, all times, was a dilemma of the civilization. Many people say that eating is the heart of most cultures, and for many cultures, this is some kind of ritual. And McDonaldization, that means that opening the same McDonald's as we have in United States, in any kind of countries, this kind of McDonaldization is worsening people's some kind of customer behavior. What is the customer behavior? This is the situation when customer is clever person, is experienced person. He or she has ability to choose something very good and have great pleasure to eat some kind of delicious. McDonaldization has not the same mission to the people to offer this kind of many different things to choose, but McDonaldization is standardization of fast food formula of the food, and also McDonaldization right now improved because they use adaptation and they try to be adapted to different parts of the world and different parts of the our earth. So, and even McDonaldization tries to understand how it's important to follow the way of learning culture, to learn much more about country and to offer to customers something from their own country and from their own dietary preferences. Especially what is very interesting when we judge cultures and when we think about how to implement our company into different markets, into foreign markets, this is high and low context cultures. This is very interesting dilemma, this is paradox, that in some countries we see high context culture, in other countries we see low context culture. So first of all, I will start from low context culture. Low context culture means that nobody is seeking your some kind of relatives and ancestors. Nobody is looking for to your clan to whom you belong. Nobody is trying to understand from which city you came, from which village you came, from which social group you came, from which class you came, from which casta you came. Everybody is listening to you, what you say. If you are clever, if you represent your ideas really well, people, they understand that you are a valuable part of their business and they adopt your ideas really well. This is low context culture. That means that your speech, your actions, they have no context. Context is very low. Nobody thinks about your clan, about your group. They are thinking about you. They have eye contact to you and they try to understand your brain, how your brain works. This is great thing for them. So low context culture, this is messages are explicit and specific, words carry all information, reliance on legal paperwork, focus on non-personal documentation, and credibility takes place. Such kind of countries, they have huge success in all kind of business direction, in all kind of life. Their politics is very clear. Everybody understands everybody So people understand people, and so they organize themselves well, and they go to great direction. So such kind of countries, first of all, this is United States, country without context. They have only text. They don't have context. So this is really, this is low context culture. Germany, wonderful country where everybody is listening, everybody, and they try to understand some kind of rightness of ideas and carefully assess deepest meaning and relevance of ideas to adapt these ideas into their business or politics or some kind of thing. So this is Germany. And Switzerland, also this is example of low context cultures. But about what is high context culture? High context culture means that nobody is listening. You have speech, for example, and you are great brain, you have wonderful opinion, you have great mind, you say wonderful things, and you know that you say wonderful things, you know that you are great. So descendant of biggest political or business leaders, but nobody is listening to you. Everybody is thinking, why this person came to speak with me? I want my son or I want my relative on his place. I want to listen, not him, but I want to listen to my relative, to my clan member, to my son, my daughter. So that's why in Asian countries, a lot of sons and daughters, they occupy very high positions in the business and in the politics. That's why these countries are terrible countries, and these countries have nothing in future. So they are very bad societies. High context culture means that information resides in context. Who is his father? Who is her mother? Who is his brother? From which clan he comes? Or to which family she belongs? This is most useful questions in high context culture. So people are not listening to you. So everything is in a very bad condition, and listeners, they focus to some kind of contexts, focus to some kind of abstractual or real physical some kind of groups to assess these groups, and after that think about words of the person who was acting to have some kind, to represent some kind of idea, to represent some kind of innovation. That's why these countries, they kill these high context countries. They kill all innovations, they kill everything what is great, and they are poor. That's why nation in such kind of countries, mostly these countries have poor nations. So first of all, this is Asian countries, but some East European countries, they have also high context culture, and this is very bad for them. So when we compare high context and low context cultures, for example, how to understand where we are right now. So our plane landed in some kind of airport, and we don't know where we are. Is this, we know the name of the country, but we don't know, is this high context country or low context country? So when we go to a hotel and when we are watching TV and when we are watching some kind of journals and read some journals, we all understand that if lawyers are less important, and person's word is less important, and everybody is emphasizing the clan, family, group. That means that we are in high context country. So also it's like uh, interesting how to use high context country in the business. So in high context country, companies, they have big risks, even if they relate to some huge clan. So they enter the market of some East European or Asian country, and this country is very high context country. And they have very good partner, because this partner is in the high context logic. So they have big some kind of power, and they are clan, and they have some kind of biggest influence on the economy. Even in this kind of situation, this clan can be destroyed by government. This clan can be destroyed by other clan, and nothing will hold your business to be crashed after that. That's why it's very big risk to enter in high context country. So you should believe that the clan to which you have great partnership will be forever. So if you believe, so you can continue your life to this way. So Mr. Hert Hofstede, the professor of Netherlands, who is wonderful to define the culture. This professor says that also culture has different kind of stages or types, and this typology of culture has this kind of stages: long-term orientation culture or short-term orientation culture. That means that Americans, for example, they have short-term orientation in their business thinking. So Americans, they want their profits back very soon. So they understand that 20 years is really good to input everything, to invest everything, and output in some kind of period, what is 10, 15, 20 years. This is normal. This is short-term orientation. Long-term orientation means that I will do this business, and this business will flourish after 25, 35 years. We will do step by step. Slowly we will do our best. This is approach of Chinese. Jack Ma. This person is very smart person, great person. He is really from a long-term orientation culture, what is huge Chinese culture. So achievement orientation, this is also type of the culture. Achievement orientation means that success is great motivator of the people, but success can be also short run, some kind of process. Success means that, what is the success? This is money combined to fame. If I have some kind of great brand and I have money, that means that someone can think that I achieved. But this is not very important for the country. Country seeks long-term success. And to have this kind of long-term success, you have, and people should have, this kind of understanding of orientation to long-run achievements, not short-run achievements. So power distance. Power distance is also interesting understanding of the culture and of the nation. When I was firstly invited to Germany, In that period, I was 26 years old, and I firstly became the scholar of German Academic Exchange Service, what is DAD, DAAD. So we visited different cities, different lands of the Germany, and the government was very familiar with us. So the members of the government and the heads of government, and so even we met Chancellor of Germany, and this person was very familiar with students, and we were drinking champagne together with government members of this country. This is short power distance, which is excellent. When you have short power culture, that means that your country is excellent and your country can directly go to very huge success. So in some countries, we don't have this kind of short power distance. We have long power distance. So that means that the distance between worker and manager is long, and distance between manager and boss is longest. So this is very bad. So when we try to understand different cultures, we can also use individualistic and collectivistic opinions of the people. So Chinese culture is collectivistic culture, and American culture is too individualistic culture. So this has also great influence and great relevance for the business. And it's very interesting that how to reduce cultural myopia. This is all times interesting case of one of the interesting organization, what is loved by children, what is loved by world society of children, and this is case of Disneyland. Disneyland opened a lot of branches, and one of branch of Disneyland was opened in Paris. So, and they had problems after that. So this dilemma, what was very problematic to American business people who opened Disneyland in Paris. This was self-reference criterion and perception, and they had cultural myopia. What is cultural myopia? So that means that if I live in the United States and I have great business in my country, United States market is one of the best and biggest in many kind of ways. So I'm thinking that if I have big business here, if people love my brand here, if I'm Disneyland in United States, that means that what kind of problem I can have in Paris? I can open my filial there, or franchise can be opened by franchisers in Paris. So that means that nothing can reduce our popularity, and that means that this is cultural myopia. How to reduce cultural myopia? They are interesting 4 steps to reduce cultural myopia. The first step, this is define the problem or goal in terms of home country cultural traits, should be avoided. So you should not define the problem or goal in terms of your home country cultural traits. So you should define everything according your host country cultural traits. This is first criteria. The second criteria, this is how to become insider. You are outsider. Even if you have great brand and your brand has world famous, you should know that you are outsider. And for French culture, for culture in many different regions, you are outsider. So the third stage, it's like to try to isolate your self-reference criterion and perception outside from your thinking. So what you defined, firstly, that you are great, everybody loves you, because your country is very popular, your brand will be the same popular in this kind of new market. All this kind of myopia thinking, you should isolate. You should cut this and take away, throw away. And redefine the problem once again and try to think about how to become insider, because you are knowing that still you are outsider. When we say about Disneyland in France and in Tokyo, because Disneyland has also wonderful place in Tokyo, so unlimited demand for American culture was first stage making American managers to have this myopia and to have these mistakes in Paris. So in Paris, they had great problems because they wanted to make this Disneyland in Paris non-alcohol organization, non-alcohol parks. So Europeans, especially the French, are sensitive about American culture imperialism, and because French imperialism was also well known in 17th century and 18th century, and Napoleon wanted to occupy all the world and so on and so on, and that means that Europeans, especially French, are very so sensitive about American uh, McDonaldization, for example, Disneylandization, for example. So that's why Europeans, they have something what is very important for them. They should drink wine, even in Disneyland. European fathers and mothers visiting Disneyland together with their kids or without kids, they should drink wine in Disneyland. So this is important for them. This is their habit. This habit is really very important for French family and life of French people. So that means that to take into consideration all kind of these things, we can do better businesses outside of our country, and that means that this kind of cultural myopia we should close, and all times we should find the ways to become insiders because we are outsiders. So one of interesting models, what about I want to say something, this is diffusion theory. And the diffusion theory says that all kind of brands, all kind of products, they have 5 stages to come to the customer, to come to the consumer. These stages, they are awareness, interest, evaluation, trial, adoption. So first of all, people should have awareness about products and services, about new brands, about new products. They should have awareness. After that, they have interest to taste. And when they taste, they evaluate it and say to others. And so word of mouth communication works in very extended way in that kind of situation. And after that, everybody makes trial. Everybody tries. And so people trying the brand, people trying the foreign product or foreign service, they have idea to adapt or not to adapt. So if product is great, if product is normal, so 25-35% of adoption then can take place. after that. So this diffusion theory is wonderful theory, and we should know well also about adopter categories. So how consumers adopt these products and these services. So consumers, they can be divided into different consumer groups according adoption. The first group, this is group of innovators. In every country, in every market, the group of innovators among consumers can be not more than 2.5% of all consumers. So after innovators, they adopt. After innovators taste, first of all. So innovators have the same diffusion stages. They have awareness, they are waiting for to this product. Sometimes they sleep in the lines. If we remember when first Android of Apple was in manufacturing process, people having awareness, they were waiting to Apple Android, and they were sleeping even in the lines to buy the first Apple Android. So these people sleeping in the lines all times, they can be entitled only as innovators. They are great people, they are smart minds, they understand that something great was done for them, and they go and they so struggle to obtain this product. After they slept in the lines, they have this great thing in their hands, they are happy, and so because they are happy, they speak with others, and they make others to be prepared to make the same purchase. So these others, they are entitled as early adopters because they have friendship with innovators. All times they are ready to follow innovators. They are not innovators themselves. They are only early adopters. So and the number of early adopters can be 13.5%. So they are great people. After them, also they speak to people, and also they have informational power, and some kind of part of society also makes the same purchase. They are early majority. So this is already third group of society making the same purchase. So the number of early majority is 34%. After early majority, this is already late majority, what is fourth group of customers. They are late majority, and their number is also 34% from all consumers. And the last ones, this is already fifth group of society, so they are laggards. Also, sometimes they are entitled as conservators. They are laggards. They are sometimes titled as conservators. So laggards, they wait until all these groups they make the same purchase, and if they have positive signals from this kind of groups of customers, finally they do the same purchase. So the number of conservators and laggards, this is 16% only. So according to this theory, we can discuss a lot of different things. Even market economy was adopted not entirely in transformational countries. In countries of ex-Soviet Union, market economy could not be adopted really well. Why? Because innovators, they started to use this idea of market economy first of all, and after innovators, market economy had the second group of followers who were early adopters. After early adopters, early majority so was involved into market economy. After early majority, late majority was also included to market economic thinking patterns, and the final way, laggards or conservators. They struggled, and finally they did the same step, and they understood that this is already market economy and they should start their business. This fact was not taken into consideration by managers of World Bank when they did their privatization in Soviet Union, and through their worst formula of privatization, they gave the country to gangs and to unofficial groups. And so after that, global experts, they wrote a lot of interesting books and articles about the worst privatization in Moscow and in Russia and Soviet Union. So, but this was already too late. And right now, the world is struggling because of Russia, because of that kind of privatization, what was done with worst formula by the experts of World Bank. They were not prepared, and right now world has big dilemma about what to do, how to stop, for example, Russia. So it's interesting how businesses should use this kind of diffusion theory and these adopted categories. So if company is too innovative, this company should find well the segment of population what is entitled as innovators. So that means that innovators, we should know well who they are, what kind of journals they read, what kind of newspapers they read, what kind of online pages they follow, and where they are, what they write, what they do. All kind of innovators in the country should be understood well by innovation-oriented companies. So, but many companies, they don't follow this rule. Many companies, they directly try to so find early adopters, because the number of early adopters is more numerous than the number of innovators. Once again, I want to repeat that innovators, they are only 2.5%, and early adopters, they are 13.5%. So for companies, it's and marketing researchers, this is more easy to find early adopters first of all, and after that, early majority will be so involved in the same way. So all these things should be taken into consideration, and especially we should think that our environment is the environment of many kind of interesting things, and first of all, this is culture, and this culture is one of the greatest empire what's governing on our brains, and culture is collective programming, and this collective programming needs to be understood really well for global consumer culture positioning. Wish you great success, and wish you to understand well this global consumer culture position, and say great wishes to your companies, enterprises, and like try to suggest you the ways of global consumer understanding. So these ways we can find together in my next lesson, the lesson number 5, what I will establish very soon. And in this kind of next lesson, we will find the ways how global marketing strategies can be established and implemented together with all kind of knowledges and experiences of our enterprises, companies, marketers, and societies with the wisdom of global marketing. Thank you very much. I'm glad to finalize my class, and once again I want to tell you that my name is Kakhaber Jakeli. I'm professor of marketing, and especially I love global marketing. Thank you very much, and once again I wish great success to you, and everything what can be done through global understanding of environments, cultures, beliefs, attitudes, and different kind of unofficial or official groups of the people who can be involved in our great marketing programs and who can be once again well implemented as a great marketers of our products and services. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.